There was an earthquake in Haiti, and the medical supply network shipped water purifiers to purify 1 million 16-ounce bottles of water. Basically stuff that we throw away, other countries love to have because they just don't have the resources. I like to think of it as building Rogers to what it is today.
You're listening to Wonderful Life with Tom Rohr. From Rogers to Bedford Falls, from Fayetteville to Pottersville, we're discovering how one person's life can have an effect on so many others. My guest today is Dan Leis. Dan is a downtown Rogers Rotary member who works to provide free medical equipment and supplies to those in need throughout the world. Welcome, Dan.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's good to have you here today. So our audience can get to know you a little bit better, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your family?
Let's start with my wife, Katie. Katie Musholt Leis. We've been married since 1972 for almost 46 years. We have 4 children. Valerie, who's a physical therapist, who's married to Dan Strunk, who's an attorney. They have our oldest granddaughter, Kate. Jeff, who's a computer engineer. He's married to Alicia, who's also a tax attorney. And they have a son that's Finn. He's just about to turn 3. Matt, my middle son, is married to Rebecca, and they have 4 children, Jacob, Charlotte, Eli, and Genevieve. And then my youngest son, Tin, he's a bank teller. Katie is the twin daughter of Clyde and Mary Musholt, and she has 5 brothers and sisters, and they moved to Rogers in 1954. Clyde was an electrical engineer with Winsonis way back when. And as for me and my family, we came to Rogers in 1963. We both went to St. Vincent de Paul when there were only 3 classrooms for 8 grades, and it was staffed by Benedictine nuns. That's kind of where we met. Katie moved to St. Louis for a few years from 64 to 69, and my family moved back to Kansas, but we had lived in Pryor and Veneta, Oklahoma, and then to Coffeyville, Kansas. My dad, Clarence Leis, was working in small-town department stores, basically Ben Franklin's, where Sam Walton brought Dad and Mom to Rogers when Dad he managed the first Walmart number 1 in 1963. So Katie and I both kind of moved here and then moved away, and then we came back. Both of us graduated from Rogers High School, and so our life, I really look at it as our marriage has truly been a destiny. We were active in leadership roles in the Catholic youth programs in junior and senior high schools, and when we were in high school, when we moved back to Rogers and finished high school together, she lived just around the corner from me, and so I pretty much had my eye on her for a long time. After graduating from high school, Katie worked as a teller at First National Bank, which is now Arvest Bank, and I had gone to attend Arkansas Tech in Russellville studying biology, and I was only there for a year, and we were married in the next summer of June of 72. And I was actually called for my military physical. My birth date was number 1, the year that of the draft. And so they called me for my physical, and Vietnam conflict was kind of still going on and drawing to a close. And so instead of being drafted, I enlisted in the Navy, went to San Diego for basic training, and since I had been pre-dental in college, they allowed me to go into the dental field as a dental technician. So in San Diego, I started my dental career. Katie joined me in San Diego for 3 months while I was doing some specialized training, and then we were stationed in Pensacola, Florida for 4 years, and I was assigned to a small communications base dental clinic at Quarry Field and Pensacola Naval Air Station, and we worked, basically saw the kids that were coming through there training to be communications techs. There was a small clinic there, and I was a dental technician. We actually had our first 2 children while we were stationed in Pensacola. Then in 1997, we returned back to Rogers, and I finished my undergraduate education at the University of Arkansas. And at the end of that, I was accepted to dental school at Louisiana State University, LSU, in New Orleans, not Baton Rouge. And we lived there for 4 years. After graduating from dental school in 1984, I set up my dental practice in Rogers. We had 2 more children here in Rogers, and we've both enjoyed being active in the community and working, where literally we both grew up. So I've been in the dental field for about 43 years.
That's impressive.
I practiced in downtown Rogers for the first 10 years before moving my office to its current location. I am a charter member of the Rogers Early Risers Rotary Club, and that's how I got involved with the Medical Supply Network.
You have a big family on both sides, it sounds like, and a lot of them live here locally too.
Still do. Yes, I have a daughter that's a physical therapist in Indianapolis, but for the most part, everybody else is here. Jeff is in Little Rock.
Yeah,
but pretty much they're all close, and Katie's family is still pretty close.
Yeah.
Around here too. So
well, I can remember when we moved here. The Leis family kind of stuck out because most of us didn't have family here locally, but you all had been here, and you were just kind of mainstays within the community. So
yeah, Rogers was a lot different back there in the 60s. It was maybe a town of 10 or 12,000. It wasn't very big, and church was a big part of our community. We happened to be both Catholics and went to school, a parochial school there, and so we'd known each other for really since we were young, although they moved away and we moved away, and then they moved back and we moved back. So we literally we've known each other for a long time. And our families have been part of, I like to think of it as building Rogers to what it is today. So.
Yeah. So you've seen it both ways. You've seen it as like a really small town, and now there's probably 500,000 people that live in the corridor. Yeah. Which did you like better?
I'm a pretty simple guy. I like the small town atmosphere, I guess, but you can't go back. But I think I liked it when it was a little bit smaller. There's too many places where I drive nowadays. There used to be just me on the road, and now there's 10 or 12 other cars. Right. So
you have some outdoor interests too. You like to camp and do those kind of things.
Yeah, our goal once I retire is to see as many national parks and hike as much as we can in those national parks, and so we try to do that as much as we can. Actually, okay. I don't do it enough, but.
Yeah. Well, and we're blessed to have a lot of that not too far from here, too. So
we really are.
And we're probably getting close to the season to get out and do that.
Actually, right now, before everything is leafed out, it's a great time to go because you can see the lay of the land. You can see how the land falls and rises, and the trees that are down and everything. It's really, once everything gets, and there are a lot more bugs when it gets warmer. So right now, it's pretty good. Although I have had my first tick of the season. So.
Oh, you have? Okay. They're coming, huh?
They're coming.
Well, they're
I've even seen a few snakes out.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, they got to be confused like we are with the warm weather and then the cold weather. And
yep.
Okay, so you said you were a charter member of the Rotary Club. Mm-hmm. So for those in the audience that aren't familiar with the Rotary Club, can you talk a little bit about the Rotary Club?
Well, it's like all service organizations. We're kind of service oriented. That's kind of the reason that the Medical Supply Network is around. Our club used to be 45, 50 members. I think we have 3 clubs in Rogers, actually, the Downtown Club, the Noon Club, and then the Rogers Early Risers. And I think as service organizations go, they're all a lot smaller than they used to be. They're not as big. I think the Noon Club used to be 150 people, and they've probably got half of that. And we're down to from 45 or 47 to probably 25. Mm-hmm. But I think we still fill a niche, and we help the community in a lot of different ways. We'll work at the LPGA here coming up and help with them, and we do a lot of stuff with the Medical Supply Network and other things too. I mean, that's what service organizations do. But I think for the most part, Kiwanis and Rotary and a lot of those service organizations aren't as popular as they used to be. So.
But, they serve a great purpose. And, I know I recently had a chance to talk at 2 of the Rotary clubs here. It was fun to see people like yourself that I knew, but also had a great chance to meet other folks and get some good connections. When I was doing my research, the Rotary Club started in 1905. So wow, been around way over 100 years. And it's also in 200 countries around the world.
That's right.
So very impressive. And really, each Rotary Club, if I understand it right, kind of has a purpose and can do things that serve the community or things that they're interested in getting involved in. Is that correct?
That's right. And so every year the president changes, and whatever that interest is for that particular person, community-based or whatever, they kind of dictate what goes on through that year. But yes, we do a lot of stuff with community organizations, projects, downtown. We help a lot with the downtown. It depends on where your club is and how you're involved, I guess. But they all kind of fill a niche. So, is
there a guest speaker at every Rotary meeting?
For the most part, yes. We actually just had the Arkansas State Auditor just this last week, and she was very informative. Probably the hardest position in Rotary is to be that program director and find a program every week.
Right.
But it's always a challenge. But yes, we have, just like you, we have some very interesting programs, and that's part of what Rotary is, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and we're going to talk a little bit later about how to get involved in the Rotary, but it sounds like a great way to network and to meet a lot of diverse people. So the focus of this particular show is we wanted you to talk about your involvement with MSNI, the Ambassador Network, which is part of the Rotary Club. Can you tell us a little bit about that program?
Sure. So the Medical Supply Network's mission is to provide free medical and dental equipment and supplies for those really throughout the world. The warehouse is located in Tulsa at 1123 South Erie Avenue in Tulsa. I can give you the phone number if you wanted to call for anything, but it's 918-832-7968.
We'll have that number in the show notes also.
VJ Lively is the current chief of operation. He's from the Tulsa Sunrise Club, and he runs the warehouse. The Medical Supply Network started in 1992, so it's been around about 25, 26 years. We've shipped to 40 different countries so far. We arrange for international shipping through a variety of free and government and nonprofit sources. Our last shipment last month was Togo, Africa. It's the first time we ever sent to actually Ghana. And we supply aid really all around the world, and sometimes at a moment's notice. There was an emergency in Haiti. Ronnie Hoyt, actually at St. Vincent de Paul, has a mission to Haiti. But in 2010, on a Tuesday, January the 12th, there was an earthquake in Haiti, and on January 13th, the Medical Supply Network shipped water purifiers to purify 1 million 16-ounce bottles of water. And then a little bit later, they sent a container of specialized supplies and equipment to deal with immediate medical needs. And so to date, MSNI has received over $100,000, $107,000 for Haitian relief. I actually have a cousin, Mike Leis. He and his wife is a physician. They run a small clinic in Costa Rica, and they are able to go online and see what's in the warehouse and request certain items. And if they've got the money coming in and the money available, we can ship usually and get it there almost within a month. So generally the turnaround time is pretty quick. The network actually started as an idea from Jack Maxwell, who is the chairman of the board. His idea became fruition in 1992. We have a 17-member board from basically about 79 clubs in District 6110. Our district composes primarily of parts of Oklahoma and Kansas and Missouri and Arkansas.
Okay, so this is a regional effort.
It is. It's okay. a regional effort. So we draw from all of those states to find equipment and board members. I was president of the board in 2009 and was on the board for almost 9 or 10 years, I guess. Tommy Lewis of Lewis Ford fame is the current president. He's in the Fayetteville Rotary Club. And so basically we repair, we sort, we identify, we store materials from all over the district. And like I said, the warehouse is in Tulsa. And so we take supplies that are basically used but still functional. We can use dialysis machines, hospital beds, x-ray machines, dental chairs, really all kinds of supplies that are still usable, but some of them are outdated.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the stuff is new, like I said, but outdated, like cotton supplies and et cetera. Basically stuff that we throw away, other countries love to have because they just don't have the resources. We generally ship in what's called a sea container or sea crate, which is a sealed container that's about the size of a small semi-trailer, and usually about 8,500 pounds or smaller, depending on the weight of what we're sending. It can go any place to the world and basically cost about $6,000 to $8,000 to ship it, depending on how heavy it is and where it's going. And so that's kind of where Rotary comes in. We do service projects to help find the money for the shipments. As I said, those 79 clubs in the district, we are a 501c3 corporation. So we try to arrange international shipping through a variety of ways, but we're always looking for volunteers and money for shipping, but also volunteers to help us do the inventory, the sorting, the reading of the equipment for packaging and for shipping each month from the Tulsa warehouse. You can also become an MSNI ambassador for $1,000 if you'd like to give to the cause and the organization. As I said, we are always looking for medical equipment. I know VJ just told me that one of the hospitals in Tulsa got some new dialysis machines, and the current ones they were using, and they just donated them. And I'm sure they'll go to someplace very needy in the world. So we're always looking for donations, whether monetary or supplies. And the shipments are costly, yes, but we also need the stuff to ship. And so if you want to help, you can contact me or VJ Lively at the number I gave you before. Or you can go online. The website is mail@msni.org. That's our website.
And again, all that will be in the show notes. So you operate a regional warehouse in Tulsa, and there are representatives from your district that participate in this. You're salvaging machines that would otherwise be thrown away. What happens if the machine needs repair?
Patterson Industry, Patterson Dental, is stationed in Tulsa. They are also my dental supplier. They have repairmen, and if they have something that comes in that needs repaired, they will send a repairman over there, and they can do it. And usually they do it for a very low or no fee. And so VJ has a group of people that also works with medical supplies and medical equipment. And so most of the stuff is usually working, but there are sometimes, I know he just said that there was some stuff they had some hospital beds. In fact, he just told me they had quite a few dental chairs and hospital beds right now. Generally, there's stuff that's old but usable. And
so you have let's just use an example, a dental chair. You have a dental chair and you get in possession, and it would be something that would be very functional. How do you determine where it goes?
We keep a log of the equipment that comes in and goes out, and so you can go actually on the website and see what's currently in the...
So who's doing that?
VJ Lively, who's the director of operations.
Yeah, I understand that. But it's from a recipient point of view. Are there international agencies that know that you're doing this and that are looking for particular things, or...
Yeah, I mean, I think so. He has a list of people that are up next. And so he knows who's on the list and who the next person is. And so they get choice of the stuff that's coming in. And so if you say, okay, you're up next or you're up next month, then you can go in to look at what's being shipped and then what's going to be left in the warehouse.
Right. So actually the demand for this probably outpaces what you have available.
Well, hopefully that's the way it works.
Yeah.
I know that there are times when he's got a lot of stuff in the warehouse, and there are times when he doesn't have as much stuff. And so at those times, people can defer and say, well, maybe I don't need those things. I'll get back with you or whatever. But like I said, he's a big part of the way this works. He is constantly, because of how many years we've been doing it, people know that we're out there, and they can donate to the warehouse if we're locally. And the other aspect is that there are people out there that we ship to, just like my cousin. He can go online and say, we really could use some of this stuff. Right. How can you help us get it?
And I imagine your group is paying attention to new hospitals or relocation.
We are, yeah.
And is that hard to network that way, or?
It's one of those things where I think it helps those specific hospitals to say, we've got this stuff and we need to get rid of it. Would you like to have it?
Okay.
And so that it gives them, instead of just recycling it, they're putting it to good use. Yes, there's probably times when stuff's not usable or they can't find the stuff to repair it. But gosh, there's so many things that are disposable that have dates on them that are outdated. And here in the United States, you kind of roll those things over, and you hate to throw stuff away that's still packaged in the original package, but could be used someplace overseas.
Yeah. Well, and, society is getting much more sustainable now. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, what you're doing really fits into that kind of mindset.
Yep.
Now, you had mentioned before the response that you had to the earthquake in Haiti. Clearly, in order to be able to ship the quantities that you were talking about, you have to have those resources available. How do you plan? I mean, you know that there's going to be natural disasters around the world. How do you plan for that kind of thing?
Well, to some extent, BJ has contacts that he can contact and say, we need this or we need that. He's got a big role in this. I mean, it's pretty much him that keeps it going.
What are like staples that you would have for those kind of events?
Like the water bottles, and I think he does that literally. It happened to be in the warehouse and he could ship it. They were sent out the next day. Yeah. But that doesn't always happen. But it's one of those things where he has contacts and he knows that, hey, they may need this or that, and so he can contact. Tulsa's a big area that he draws from, but also, Wichita, Northwest Arkansas, Springfield, and those areas are all large enough metropolitan areas that he has an in with a lot of the medical places.
And so you're really looking to respond with just basic needs, just things that get people to survive and to get through that situation.
Yep.
I bet you find too that there's a lot of providence involved in that. When you do work like you're doing, I don't think it's a coincidence that you happen to have that exact thing that area needs.
Yeah, that's true. In this case, it was just happened to be there, and they knew, or he knew, that it would help. And so 1 million bottles of 16 ounces of water, where there were areas in Haiti that didn't have drinking water because of that. But some of those things are easy to get there, but a lot of those places are up in the mountains, and getting it from where it's delivered on the coast to someplace internally is the real problem. I think once you get there, you have to have another Rotary Club or a contact person or somebody that can kind of coordinate and help. And BJ isn't able to do that, but he can contact a Rotary Club if there is one and say, hey, I need your help to do this or whatever. So that's kind of the networking that we use.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's just wonderful to know that you all are anticipating these things and you have ongoing plans and being sustainable and able to respond to those.
Yeah.
Because they're going to happen. You just never know where.
Exactly. I know just recently they had the hurricane in Houston, and I think he has shipped equipment and stuff to that area. I don't know exactly what. I'm not on the board anymore, but I know that there was several shipments that went down there right away as soon as they could. So
yeah, that's wonderful. Back to the local Rotary here. What needs or what are some of the plans that the local Rotary has going forward?
Used to, especially looking at the size of our club, we would try to find events that could make us money, stuff that we could do to help organizations that would bring in money for us so that we can finance the things that we do. As our club has gotten smaller, it's become harder and harder, I think, to find things. Since we're a service organization, our big thing is manpower, and the manpower of the club is smaller, and so our manpower isn't as much, but also, you're lucky if you can have some members that can give and help. But I think that's kind of the reason that the clubs are dwindling too, because there's so many needs in areas and the manpower is just not there anymore. So we really struggle, I think, to be able to come up with projects that we can do that will help and also raise money for certain things like the Medical Network.
And so having a bigger membership is something that would allow you to do more things, and it also would increase your scope because your members are so diverse in their background.
They really are. I mean, we have businessmen, we have bankers, we have doctors and lawyers, judges, and just any number of different kind of members that all have varied backgrounds, and so that's very helpful. that's really what makes Rotary kind of nice.
Right. Now, and I understand if you're a member at one Rotary Club, you can attend any of the Rotary clubs. Is
That's
that
right.
correct?
That's right. And it's one of those things where you're supposed to make up every meeting that you don't make. And so if you can't make a meeting at your club, then you could go to a downtown club or the evening club. But actually, they meet at a bar and they serve beer, so it's a nice place to make up a meeting. But,
that was my first exposure to a Rotary Club, and I have to say it was a very pleasant experience. If I'm listening to this and I want to learn more and get involved, what's the best way to do that?
Visit a Rotary Club if you're interested in any kind of community service. I would say any of them would be very happy to have you and as a guest, and probably you'd get to hear a good program while you were there. We have several clubs in the area. I think our club meets on Wednesday mornings. The downtown club meets, I think, on Tuesday at noon. Let me rephrase that. The downtown club meets on Monday evening, and the Rogers Noon Club meets on Tuesday at noon. And we meet Wednesday morning at 6:30 out at NB Suites.
So if I'm interested, I just would go to one of those meetings and just introduce myself as somebody who's interested in seeing what the Rotary is all about.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Okay, so no initiations or secrets or anything like that, right?
No, and probably what I would say is find a club that piques your interest and that is doing some of the things that you're interested in. Visit several clubs and find out a little bit about the club and who the members are, and find one that you fit into and go from there.
Yeah. Well, and what I was impressed with in my exposure is just the variety of people, and it's a great place to network and get to know folks. And if you have your own business, there'll be a lot of good connections. If you're just wanting to get involved in the area, the Rotary is a great place.
Yep. Any of those service organizations, there's a really big need. And I think for the most part, a lot of the younger millennials, maybe they think about it a little bit different way. But we do have, most of our members are older, but we do have some younger members.
Sure. So. Well, and they have their whole life in front of them to give back. And the Rotary is a good place. All right. Well, thank you, Dan. Are you ready for the lightning round? I know you've been looking forward to this.
Sure.
All right, 3 questions. First question, who would win a fight, Spider-Man or Batman?
Well, I kind of grew up with both of those guys, but I don't know. I think that's almost a toss-up. I probably would favor Batman, but I don't know. That's... I used to do a little bit of science fiction and stuff when I was younger, but I haven't really kept up with it too much lately. And I know those guys are both good guys, and so I'd say, boy, I don't know. That's a toss-up.
So away from work, what will we find you doing away from a work day?
Well, like I said, I've already mentioned that Katie and I like to hike, and when I retire, if and when I retire, I think we've talked about trying to see as many of the national parks and do some hiking in as many of them as we could. I'd like to say I'm a fly fisherman, and I enjoy standing in cold water and fly fishing. I do tie some of my own flies, and I have to admit, in the last 3 months, I've probably only been once, so I need to do more of it, but. Generally, the things that keep me busy are things like Rotary and then Medical Supply Network. And so those 3 things probably would be what I would say. If I get some free time, I'm going to try to go to a state or national park, and otherwise I'm going to probably be helping Rotary.
Okay. Is the fly fishing good around here?
You can go below the tailwaters. You can go to Flippin and go, below Beaver Dam, but also Table Rock Dam. Both of them have waters that go through there. Gee whiz, if you can go to Rocky Mountain National Park and put your in some, a stream that's got cold water and some trout, boy, that'd be ideal. But yeah, I go usually below the dam.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, is that self-taught or have you taken lessons?
Pretty much self-taught.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a couple of patients that are guides. One that my wife used to work with, her husband is a guide, and I take Monsignor every once in a while. We'll go on his drift boat. He's got a McKenzie drift boat, and we'll go fishing, and it's a great day. So if you've never done that, it's a lot of fun.
All right. Well, it sounds like fun. All right. Last question. You're going through these really well. All right. We finish this interview today, and you step outside your office and you find a lottery ticket that ends up winning $10 million. What would you do next?
Boy, I think I'd quit my job. Boy, I don't know. What would I do with $10 million? Golly. I think I'd have to say I'd give part of it to the medical supply network. I think they're very needy, and I think that would be a good way to invest. Part of it would be to give back to the medical supply network. Probably some of it would go to my family, I guess, but gee whiz, there's a lot of things in the community that could use $10 million. Wow.
Okay. Well, Dan, thank you so much for joining us today. We've really enjoyed your story, and I'm just impressed with the difference that the Rotary Club is making.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you very much for having me.
And thank you for tuning in to Wonderful Life. Remember, the only thing that you can take with you is that which you give away. This is Tom Rohr, the richest man in town, signing off till next time.
This is the Padua Podcast Network. PaduaMedia.com